My drugs don't kill people, he said helpfully, facing the camera, wide-eyed, as if in an appeal to the masses.
Welcome to Book World with Karen Reborn. Don't forget to like, share and subscribe.
Hello everyone. Look at your life. Look at your choices. Choosing to watch this video is the best choice that you've ever made. Thank you for always coming back and appreciating my content. And in case you're new here, kindly consider subscribing to this channel. So today we are continuing with analysis of A Silent Song and Other Stories. This is a book that we've been doing for a series of weeks, and today we are on the 9th episode. So kindly, if you've not watched the other episodes, kindly pause there, run, watch them, then come back and continue with this. Thank you. So today I'm moving on to the 9th story of this book, that is Ghost by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. This book, we are going to talk about the synopsis of the book, we are going to talk about the characters in the book, we are going to talk about the issues that arise in the book as we interpret the book one by one. So first, let's talk about the characters that are found in this book. Number one character that we see in this book is the driver, who is Vincent. Vincent is a cobbler who works at the university gate, and he was the former driver of the university. He used to drive Professor James Ngozi. Again, we are introduced to James Ngozi, who is the professor, a retired professor. He used to teach in the university, to lecture in the university, but right now he's retired. Henna Okoro. This also a character that at first we're introduced to him, it seems like he's a ghost in the book, but through the conversations that unveil, we get to realize that he was also present here. He's not a ghost. Zik is the daughter to Prof. James Ngozi, and this is the daughter that died during the war, the Biafran War in Nsukka. Then we have Ebere, who is the professor's wife, and now also considered as a ghost because she visits. Another character that we have is Nikiru, or Nkiruka in full, the daughter to James Ngozi, who was brought into life after the war and when they were living in America. Then there's also a character that has just been talked about, but we don't interact with him. It's just been mentioned in the book. That is Christopher Okigbo. And I know most of you have heard of Christopher Okigbo with his great poetic works. If you've not read a poem from Christopher, then you really need to go there and read them. They are really so beautiful. So that is just been mentioned in the book as a poet, and we are going to talk about it as we continue. So first, let's talk about Chimamanda. Chimamanda is a renowned writer, and some time back I analyzed the book Purple Hibiscus by Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie. If you not watched that video, kindly go back and watch. Purple has written a lot of books: Half of a Yellow Sun, The Thing Around Your Neck, Americana, and many more. Most of people, I know that you've interacted with this writer. That is that. Again, let's talk about the title of this book, which is Ghost. What's the meaning of ghost? At the beginning of the book, we are introduced to Ikenna Okoro, a man who was long thought to be dead. We can read there, "Today I saw Ikenna Okoro, a man I had long thought was dead." So James Ngozi, who met this man Ikenna, thought of taking sand, throwing at him to identify his state, whether he's a ghost or alive. But that didn't happen because of his education. As a professor, education tells you that you don't need to believe in ghosts, you don't need to believe in those things that happened that are way backward. So because of that, he didn't go ahead to do it, but through the interaction, he realized that this person was not really a ghost, but was also suffering because of that. So the memories of people are haunting. That is why we can see the title Ghost. It's been derived from the people in the book. We can see that almost everyone in this book are haunted, because according to the way stories are given, you realize that this is a story that has been haunting people left, right, and center. So you're going to see that as we continue. And so let's talk about the suffering of retirees as they follow up on their pension. I said that James Noe is a professor, a retired professor who lectured at that university. But he comes back to claim his pension money, of which we are told in the book that he's been following that for several times. And read page 57. I'm sorry, someone requested me to be posting the pages here. I'm sorry, I've not been posting them. So we're going to do it one by one. On page 57, I was there to ask about my pension yet again. This means that this is something that he's been doing over and over and over, but there was nothing that was coming out of it. The money has not come in. That is what we see there. And then they talk about the clerk, they talk about the driver, the counselor, and how everything is done in that university. So that is what we are introduced. There's a lot of suffering. And then the suffering is also seen when you talk about the cobbler, Vincent the cobbler, or the driver that used to drive the university vehicle. This man is now doing the work of mending shoes, just get right in front of the gate, doing that. And then they meet and they talk about their past, and how everything had been done and happening during the time they were there. And so we are introduced to this Vincent. They're living a life that is so miserable because of the rising conditions of life. Things are not really easy for them, and they're really trying to survive here. So we see that. And then there's also this man, or these people that were standing near a tree. They're requesting to be bought for bananas. And the professor bought them bananas because they requested for it. They were hungry. Requested the prof to buy for them bananas. After buying for them bananas, the professor realizes that they don't even really need that banana. Their skin is so dehydrated that the professor thought that what they needed was oil to hydrate their body, to make their body shine, to make their body look so nice. That is what realization that comes there. Then another thing that we can see in this book, the second point, we have corruption in government institutions. The vice chancellor, who has stolen the pension money. The money is not coming forth because it has been stolen. Then we have the VC, the present VC, and the VC that was there before. They're just behaving the same way. So that is again what we see. Then the personnel services departments are bribed by lecturers who doesn't want to retire. If you don't want to retire, it's so easy. Because you still want to earn your money and your age, instead of going to sit back at home and do your work and give room for some people to be employed, what they do, they bribe. They bribe their position there. They bribe to stay there. And also bribe is seen when you have to bribe to be taken to another level. For you to be elevated, to be promoted, you have to bribe your position. And then another thing that we see, the university students are also earning their grades through buying them or using their body to get or to receive those grades or to gain the grades. So they have to buy it or they use their bodies. So that is also prostitution that happens in this university. So we have corruption in government institutions in the university. Then again, there are how people deal with the ghosts of the past to survive the present. When we talk about this, what comes into mind is Professor James Noe. This man talks about the wife having died a long time ago. But immediately after the wife was buried, 3 weeks after the burial, the wife started visiting the man. He just heard the footsteps in the house and realized that this was the wife. And the professor was not even willing to talk about the ghost of the wife coming to visit with the friend Ikena because he didn't want to be judged. It just conceals it and doesn't talk about it. So this man is visited with the ghost of the wife, living with it. This ghost helps this man to live in the present, using the ghost to live in the present, to survive because of the pain of losing the loved ones in war. that pain becomes so intense, and that is what happened. Then there are war and its effects. Effects of war. In any place that war has to take place, there are so many effects that it comes with. There are separation of families, of loved ones. People get to be separated. You'll find that maybe the war began, let's talk about this Biafra, when these people were not together. Then the other has to escape to another direction. The other one has to follow the different direction, and that causes separation. Like we can talk about Ikena. Ikena, during the time that the war was taking place, he was in the university premises trying to collect some few things there. But during that time, because he was in the university premises, people thought that he died because were killed during that time. And this man didn't die. He escaped and went to Sweden. Running there, the family is left in Orlu. The family remains in Orlu. And when the family remains, get to see that is an effect of this war. There was also a bomb that was thrown at Orlu, and being thrown there, the family had to perish. All of them died there. So the man had to escape. Ikena escaped, but the family members remained in Orlu. They were dead there. So there's also that separation and then loss of loved ones. Another effect of war we can see there is trauma. As professor has to deal with the ghost of the loved one. Has to deal. Remember losing the daughter Ziklag in war, losing the living with that, having to separate himself from the family because they were living in America. But after the death of Ziklag, the other daughter was given birth, Nkiru was given birth to in America, and doesn't want to come back to Nsuka. So this man has to come back here and live here alone. And so the only consolation that this man has is the ghost, and it's also talking to the grandson. We see about war and its effects. There's also the aspect of destruction of properties. The destruction of properties just because of war. Because professor says that because of war, he came back, the land was so desolate, the houses have been burnt down, the piano had disappeared, the books were scattered everywhere on the returning back, and that is what we see. That's also effect of war. And so we also talk about that. And then another thing that we can see, there are blown out roofs and houses of people just because of that. Because people have to run, people have to get rescue from somewhere else, and as a result of that, they leave everything there. These people come and destroy the properties of people. And so we also talk about this Christopher Okigbo. Christopher Okigbo is a renowned writer, poet, as I've said in the beginning. This man also dies in Biafra just because of this same war. So there is also that loss of his life. And this is someone that people say that would have been great. He was a great mind. Many writers talk about Christopher Okigbo. And even if you Google the history of Christopher Okigbo, you'll get to see that this man was so great. This man was a great mind. His poetries were so great that if death would have not cost him his life, then this man would be a great person, would be a great poet right now, because he died when he was so young. So that's that. Again, talking about the poetry of Okigbo, let me refer to it in page 62. Let me read. Chris Okigbo died not so. Ikena asked and made me focus once again. For a moment, I wondered if he wanted me to deny that, to make Okigbo a ghost come back too. But Okigbo died, our genius, our star, the man whose poetry moved us all, even those of us in the sciences who did not always understand it. Yes, the war took Okigbo. We lost a coloss in the making. True, but at least he was brave enough to fight. As soon as I said that, I was regretful. I had meant it only as a tribute to Chris Okigbo, who could have worked at one of the directorates like the rest of university people, but instead took up a gun to defend Suka. These are the issues that have been arising. that I've been talking about. There is also counterfeit or fake drugs that are used. Counterfeit drugs or fake drugs. These are drugs that have expired. Ikenna talks about the death of the wife Ebere. Ebere dies just because the drugs that were used on her were expired. They've used the drugs for so long, but the health of Ebere was just deteriorating, only to realize later that these drugs were expired, these medicines were expired, and they were not going to do anything. So there's also that in page 65. Fake drugs are horrible, I said gravely, determined to say nothing else, but I must have been wrong about Ikenna's plot because he did not pursue the subject. So from this part, we can get to see that Ikenna also talked about it. Ikenna said something about, I was just reading about fake drugs in the papers. Ikenna said, and I immediately thought it rather a convenient coincidence. He's bringing up fake drugs. Selling expired medicine is the latest plague of our country, and if Ebere had not died the way she did, I might have found this to be a normal segue in the conversation, but I was suspicious. Perhaps Ikenna had heard how Ebere had lain in the hospital, getting weaker and weaker, how a doctor had been puzzled that she was not recovering after her medication, how I had been distraught, how none of us knew until it was too late that the drugs were useless. So that's that. So there's also the aspect of fake drugs that are used, and also something that we see as a coincidence that happens on going back home. James Noe, the professor, watches an interview on NTA broadcast of a man who claims that his drugs doesn't kill, but they only fail to cure someone. That is in page 66. I turned the television on. It was still running on the screen, although Dr. Otagbu's son, the bright young man who is reading electronics engineering, came last week to fix it. My satellite channels went off after the last thunderstorm, but I have not yet gone to the satellite office to find somebody to look at it. One can stay some weeks without BBC and CNN anyway, and the programs on NTA are quite good. It was NTA some days ago that broadcast an interview with yet another man accused of importing fake drugs. Typhoid fever medicine in this case. My drugs don't kill people, he said helpfully, facing the camera, wide-eyed, as if in an appeal to the masses. It is only that they will not cure your illness. I turned the television off because I could no longer bear to see the man's blueberry lips. But I was not offended, not as egregiously as I would have not been if Ibera did not visit. I only hope that he would not be let free to go off once again to China or India or wherever they go to import expired medicine that will not actually kill people, but will only make sure the illness kills them. These medicines also only makes the sickness kill you. So the aspect of dealing with past ghosts, I've talked about it up there. And also the education. Because of your education, because you're learned, you're not supposed to do some things like having to throw sand at the ghost. You're not supposed to do it because you're learned, because of your education. Yeah, let me know what you think about this book. From your point of view, do you think whatever Chimamanda is trying to argue with in this book is really true? Have you lost a loved one? How does it feel like? Like losing a loved one. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with grief? Yeah. In case there's that loss, what are you supposed to do? Let me know down below in the comment section. That's that for today. Let's meet in the next video.